Hey, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Sega Sonic Radio. I'm your host, GX, aka Chris, aka the Spin Dash. We got a fantastic show for you tonight. Despite a late start and some introductory technical issues, we are live and running and praying that everything is real good, is real smooth as we go. And with that, I think we're gonna reach into the Spinbox to kick things off. What have we got here in the Spinbox? If I can get Spinbox, open up. It's stuck. How'd we get it so stuck? Come on. There we go. Whew. Kicking one off with the Karma Collector in 1994. Who writes in, what do you think makes Sonic and his friends able to breathe in space when there's normally no air up there? Rings, chaos energy from the emeralds, or something else entirely? Since I am not the expert in Sonic lore, often by choice, I had to take this over to my good friend, Reef, who hosts a rather lovely podcast called Vaguely Scientific, where he answers very silly questions about science, and usually answers them in awfully silly ways. And I plugged that to him tonight, and his assessment of it is that he believes in Sonic's universe, that there's air in space, especially because things explode a lot, and you need oxygen to have explosions, to have fire. So it then goes to suggest, well, maybe there's oxygen in space in the world of Sonic. So yeah. Hopefully that's an acceptable answer. We're gonna kick things off with Karma Collector's request, as well as one from Keanu the Hedgehog. Let's start off with some Sonic Adventure 2.
And we're Meteor Herd. You ready to go in space? Help me get the emeralds. Took a shot to space and left from our homes. At least we were friends, and I'm not all alone. Bad thing was that the emerald spilled. Got us so spaceman, time to get in. What's this? Can't fly or climb. I just could float. Hope I don't die. Meteors coming my way, weaving. Gotta go straight. Any criminal, crime don't pay. Seeing the crazy look, Eggman's fake. Don't let it hit you more. 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 Don't let it get you fooled. Don't let it get you fooled. straight. Any criminal, crime don't pay. Seen the crazy look, Eggman's face. Don't let it hit you more. 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 Don't let it hit you more.
I'm allowed to do at least one of those a night. I get at least one. If I do more than one, then it's a problem. But I'm allowed one accidental muted. This is something we can all agree on. Hey, welcome back. That was Space Strip Seps from Sonic Adventure 2, requested by the Karma Collector, followed by Hidden World from Sonic Lost World, wrapping it up with Arrow of Time Remix from Sonic Frontiers, as requested by Keanu the Hedgehog. Tonight's theme, as appropriately, you know, very spacey. It's hyperspace is our theme, and we picked some very spacey tracks, some of which are intense space, some of which are just chill and zone out space, some of which are just a little bit weird. A little bit weird. It's true. It wouldn't be an SSR without at least one accidental mute. But let's keep it at one. We got one more Spinbox for you, although we've got several more later. I got two tonight that were surprisingly leaned into the negative aspects of my opinions on Sonic, which I guess I don't blame you if you've listened to other things I've written, or I've said on podcasts, or read things I've written on the site. Like, you know, I have strong opinions about certain aspects of the franchise. If you want me to rip into something, I guess I can. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I'm probably one of the most, in the non-Sonic community I hang out in, I'm probably one of the most positive on Sonic, and yet I might be one of the more negative within Sonic fandom. It's a weird dichotomy. But Knuckles K asks, what is your least favorite mainline Sonic game that you played, and why do you hate it so much? So I'm going immediately, like, this is a no hesitation answer. It's Sonic and the Black Knight. Like, it is very boy, that game. I don't care whether you think it's a mainline or not. It is a Sonic platformer in sort of the lead up to them solidifying the boost style of gameplay. So I consider it one, I guess. But it has this loop of level design where, because it is so combat focused, and its combat is kind of limited to this sort of melee thing, and it commits a sin that I feel a lot of Sonic games with combat commit, especially like something like Heroes, or to a lesser extent Unleashed. If I am playing as a Sonic, not as like a Werehog Sonic or something crazy like that, I expect enemies to go down in one hit. But the way you handle them in Sonic and the Black Knight is, let me put it this way, the way you handle it effectively is that you basically have to do a jumping slash and then jump backwards, and then do a jumping slash and then jump backwards, and then do a jumping slash, and hopefully by then you have defeated them. And I find that stop and start and stop and start and stop and start every time that you have to deal with combat in the game, which there is a lot of, I find it kind of insufferable. So, yeah, it's Black Knight with a bullet for me. People complain about, oh, remember the IGN review? Because for some reason, Sonic fans have in their head that IGN is the same IGN that it was like a decade or 15 years ago. Even though that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I was like, oh, IGN did that game dirty. My attitude is like, no, even regardless of how you feel about that review, like, I find it hard to disagree with their assessment of it. So, yeah. Hey! But, to make up for it, hey, Knuckles K, I got your request. I also got one from Mio, so we might have, you know, some non-Sonic in the middle. In a sandwich. In a sandwich. So let's go ahead and head over to Shadow the Hedgehog. And I will see you guys on the other side. That was The Doom from Shadow the Hedgehog, as requested by Knuckles K, followed up by Milky Way Battle from FTL Faster Than Light, wrapping it up with Space Colony from Super Monkey Ball 2, as requested by Mio. I think it's about time for a quiz. What say ye? May you answer these questions 3, but there's only one. There's 3 in total, but just this one for now. It's the Quiz Zone. I got some Sonic trivia for you. All you gotta do is you gotta answer it with your brain meats. You gotta make them brains work with the synapses, and then have an output that matches the answer dealy. As always, you can guess in chat. If you don't want to guess in chat, you don't have to guess in chat. I'm gonna make you. I'm not your dad. But you can if you want to. If you just want to hide or minimize chat, you can do that, and we'll let you know the answer after it's all done. And here's our quiz question. Quizone asks, according to Sonic Generations, who produced both Chow in Space, The Search for Tikal, and Chow in Space 2, Perfect Chaos Strikes Back? Who produced both of these films, according to Sonic Generations? We'll let you know the answer in a bit. In the meantime, here's some Sonic Forces. That was a gate from Sonic Forces. Once again, that question was, according to Sonic Generations, who produced both Chow in Space, The Search for Tikal, and Chow in Space 2, The Perfect Chaos Strikes Back. And as Maxie and Silver in chat noted, yeah, it is indeed Sonic himself. Probably can't see it very well at this distance. Hopefully it's nice and big for you guys. It's probably tiny on my screen. But yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Sonic to have directed both those movies, but that's what it says. It's a Sonic movie. Maybe he delegated. Also, if you look at the cast of them, like the cast in air quotes is just a jumble of different Sonic characters. Some of them, I believe, directly translated from the Japanese characters to English letters. But for some reason, Chow in Space 2's cast has Chip, Marine, and a Merle in it, which feels like there would be some reasons why that would not be the case. That seems odd. Doesn't seem like something that would realistically happen, but to get buy-in from those three particular characters, that's what the poster says. So we're going to say goodbye to the quiz. We got more quizzes coming at you a little bit later, but we also have a request from Young Sonic Fan, as well as another one from MFA. Let's enjoy. I'll see you guys in a bit.
What would it feel like to be speeding like
Hey, welcome back. That was Free from Sonic Free Riders as requested by Young Sonic Fan, followed up by Galaxy Fantasy, the Galaxy Man stage from Mega Man 9, wrapping it up with Wrapped in Black, digital remake and tracks version from Sonic Rush, the soundtracky one. Soundtracky version. It kind of extra digitized, like it's a cleaner and combined. Yeah, you got it. You know what's up. You know what's up. I know what's up. Do you know what's up? If you guessed the Spinbox, you'd be accurate. We got Spinbox here from Young Sonic Fan asking the other negative question for tonight. What did you dislike about Sonic Frontiers and why? I don't know if they specifically know me to be kind of someone who really did not love Frontiers or not. So let's say whenever since that game came out, like, I have been pretty vocal about how I feel about Sonic Frontiers. I'm gonna start by saying I do not hate Sonic Frontiers. I know I'm not being accused of hating it, but I'm just gonna specify I don't hate Sonic Frontiers. I think it's okay, but on the low end of okay. I think it's just a bit above mediocre. I think it does some interesting things. I think the boss variety is pretty solid in the types of mechanics that it asks you to use and the types of unique mechanics it asks you to do. I think the sense of air control is better in the series than it has been prior, as well as, let's say, I'm gonna say I really like that they did not make the boost mechanic just like invincibility. I think you have to actually engage with level design whenever you are asked to actually do platforming and not just boost constantly. So I have a lot of gripes with Sonic Frontiers, and I could spend all night talking about what they are. Stuff like the progression mechanics, stuff like the way that they handle storytelling. Not inherently just the story on its own, but the way that the story is presented to the player. But I'm gonna try to shorten it to this. When you make a big map game, any sort of game on a big map, whether you consider it like open world, or Mario Odyssey style world, or however you want to call a big map, whenever you set out to make a big map game, it is often because you have a set of you have something that you are trying to explore that does not necessarily fit in a smaller space. So when I think of Breath of the Wild, I say, okay, Breath of the Wild is very mechanically complex between its chemistry system, its physics system, the types of things it asks the player to do, the kinds of treks and exploration that it asks of the player. That is a game, whether you like it or not, built around the idea of having a big world. Forza Horizon, I would kind of say the same. It's kind of like a driving game with a lot of different possible driving things that you could get into and circumstances that you can use its complicated driving simulation engine to handle. I would say Mario Odyssey just has a ton of different little activities that are all unique for you to participate in. Sonic Frontiers loop is you collect the gears, from boss. You hunt down the bosses to get the gears. You use the gears to get the levels. You complete the levels to get the keys. You get the keys to get the emeralds. Then you need to talk to your friends, so you have to go and get like 20, 30, 40, 50 of their little tiny tokens strewn throughout the map, and then you can talk to them. And then you do that 20 more times throughout the rest of the game. Sonic Frontiers is a game where you make it through the first island, and then you've basically seen almost everything the game has to offer. It doesn't really expand on any of its mechanics. It doesn't really develop any of its mechanics. You do the same thing about 4 times. There's really no side stuff to get involved with. Now, okay, I say that as someone who predominantly played at launch and has not gone back to it for a significant amount of time, but has gone and tested, like, yeah, some of the stuff that they added is okay. But it blows through everything it wants to explore in the first island, and then just does not have much to iterate on that once you get past it. And you can really tell the degree to which it just feels like they ran out of time or resources or something. It's just really on its face, like, okay, there's stuff in here that is like, okay, I can really taste the way that you're trying to economize what you've got. The best example I can give you is that the first island, you can see the whole top left corner, top right corner of that is all inaccessible. And then you learn why it's inaccessible, and it's because they cut this island into 2 chunks so that they could reuse the whole island to be the 4th island. And it doesn't feel like they had a lot of ideas on what to do with what they were building. And that, I find that just really disappointing. Like, it's not a game that I'm angry at. It's not a game that I hate in the way that I really do not like how Black Knight plays. It's just a game that I find incredibly disappointing, because I love games that take place on large maps. And I believe Maxi in chat made a comparison to Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World is honestly a game that I was thinking about whenever I was throughout the week thinking about, okay, how would I discuss how I feel about Sonic Frontiers. Mario Kart World is a mechanically fantastic game. It is mechanically fantastic. Its tracks are great. It has it has a skill ceiling that I am still learning what to do with. And I don't know why they decided to make it a big map game, because I don't think they had a lot of great ideas on what to do with that big map. I think Knockout Tour is really cool. I think if they did something crazy, like have people be, like, basically just dynamically create new Knockout Tour tracks. Like, if there weren't 8 cups of Knockout Tours, if it was just like, okay, every week we set up 3 Knockout Tour tracks that you can participate in and maybe compete for times on your friends, or go against computers, or go online and do. And then the next week we shuffle 3 more. And then the next week we shuffle it. Like, there's no reason in what they're doing to still do the traditional 8-cup Grand Prix. Have it be dynamic. because you've set up all of these routes between each and every track. Why not do that? It would be a better use of that space. It would help at least justify a little bit more the fact that free roam just doesn't have a lot of things in it. Why am I waiting for Kamek to unlock all of these characters when you have this massive world that I could just roll into and discover, wait a minute, I found the farm track. The cow wants me to do a race, and if I can race, then I can recruit them. That makes a lot more sense than just wait for Kamek to turn me into Charge and Chuck so I can get Charge and Chuck. Whenever I could, like, say, okay, what if we jam 10 Charge and Chucks on a track, and you have to take out a bunch of them in order to unlock Charge and Chuck? Like, there are ideas that probably make more sense for a structure like that it just doesn't feel like they explore, that I think would make it a much more engaging game. Obviously, hey, I judge games based on what they have and not what they don't, but at the same time, it doesn't mean I can't be disappointed by what they don't. That's why I said, like, I don't hate Sonic Frontiers, but I'm incredibly disappointed by it. I just don't think it has enough for what its space asks from you. But I've talked for way too long, so let's get back to actual music. Thank you for the question, young Sonic fan. Wait, no, that was young Sonic fan. Did I? Yeah, I already played free. I don't think that was the thing I meant to play. I think I did things out of order. We'll do the next question from Pokeanime Matt after his request, as well as some other songs. Enjoy! We'll be right back.
Mike, it really is. Oh, geez, that's great. Am I halfway decent?
Hey, welcome back. Starting off with Gene Gadget Zone, Act 1 from Sonic 3D Blast, followed up by Trespasser from Sonic Adventure 2, as requested by Poke Anime Matt. Wrapping it up with Hometown from Tetris Effect Connected, like the space station stage. We got two things I got to get through during this break. One of them is gonna be hopefully quick. Let's get to Poke Anime Matt's question in the Spinbox. Sonic as a brand has had many crossovers, partnerships in video games, comics, media, etc. Is there anything Sonic hasn't collaborated with, or anything you would like to see with the Sonic brand? So, boy, is Matt accurate on that one. Yeah, like, depending on how old you are, like, you're probably, you may be at this point used to, like, okay, things that start as video games turn into big transmedia properties, where it is also a cartoon and a movie and a comic, and it has action figures and toys and Lego sets and all that nonsense to go with it. Because a lot of companies are realizing, like, oh, we could do this. Games are big enough that we could actually make a HBO show around them now. But back in the day, wasn't so much the case. Some certainly got some cartoons, but the only thing that I could say, let's say in, like, up until... I'm gonna say at least up until 2010, but probably a little bit beyond 2010. I think the only franchise that would have been more transmedia than Sonic is Pokemon. Like, I think Pokemon is probably the only one I can, like, point to. It's like, this is a brand that knows how to make a lifestyle product originating with the video game. So there's a lot of stuff that's Sonic that's already out there. I already got my Lego. I think I have mixed feelings about my Lego, but I already have my Sonic Lego. I think what I want that I probably would not get without wishing it into existence, I want them to collaborate with Bandai on Sonic Gunpla of the various, like, mechs and robots and vehicles in the series. Like, I want... The thing I want to build is I want to build the Sonic Adventure 2 Cyclone. And, like, the Egg Walker thing from Sonic Adventure 2 for Eggman. I want to build, like, the weird robots that game series has. Because they make Mega Man ones, where you can build Mega Man robots. I mean, heck, they make... Do you want to build a person from the Dragon Ball series? You can do that. You can get Gunpla of that for some reason. But I like robots, and I like some of the robot designs in this series, and I would want to build the robots in a Gunpla format. Add the little decals or decals or whatever you pronounce it in whatever country you're in. And just have, like, my big, vibrant blue robot walker that looks like its chest is a airplane. Maybe Metal Sonic. I would build a Metal Sonic. Wouldn't you build a Metal Sonic? I'd build a Metal Sonic. So thanks, Pokeanime Matt. Yeah, the gun robots. Gun robots would be a cool thing to build. Like, maybe not like the Beetle ones, but like the ones that are bipedal, that stomp around, that they brought back for, like, Sonic Generations and stuff. We also got a quiz for you. It's time for the audio cue. Once again, hey, it's another quiz. This is one I am surprised that I have not done before. But what Sega published game is this song from? This one's hopefully going to be an easier one. I've been on a tear of, like, challenging ones. This is a very iconic song that I think some of you might actually get. So get your guesses in. If you want to guess in chat, you're welcome to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Chat's hidden on screen. You just have to hide chat yourself. Let's take a listen, and I'll catch you guys after this. Hey, we got some good guesses in chat. No one with a definitive answer, but someone with a correct answer. Maxie did eventually get it among their several guesses. This is Toe Jam and Earl. Toe Jam Jammin'. Toe Jam and Earl is a bizarre and very memorable and strange game for the era. You can kind of like you get the sort of, you definitely have that Genesis like grungy electric guitar sound, and that emphasis on like a bass to it. It doesn't quite have the percussion that you would usually expect from a Genesis game, but it has the kind of personality you would from Genesis of the era, that like it's a very early 90s game. It is a very early 90s game in its style. It's strange. It is strange and bizarre, and funny enough, like it's an early example of a roguelike before the genre kind of got popular. Like, roguelikes weren't really that much of a thing on consoles. Like, of course, like, there's the original Rogue, which was, a PC game. But it has a lot of the hallmarks of a roguelike. You start at the beginning, it's sort of run-ish based. It has randomly generated elements. In fact, one of the big aspects of it is, like, you pick up presents to help you through the game as you go, but you don't know what they are until you open them. So, like, you could hit some real random bad time shenanigans or surprisingly good things. Who knows? And it kind of just puts you on edge of like, okay, do I take the risk of using this item and figuring out what exactly it does? But yeah, some love and chat for classic Sega things in Cross Worlds, which I mean, I'm all up for classic Sega and Cross Worlds. It's kind of the attitude I have towards All-Stars Racing versus All-Stars Racing Transformed is the better game, but the original All-Stars Racing has the better cast. Like, if you look at some of the characters that it has Choo Choo Rocket, it has Bonanza Brothers, it has Opa Opa. It's just, it's kind of a more diverse and kind of crazier task, which, like, it's cool that we have Ulala. Did we really need Ulala and Pudding? I don't know if we needed both of those. It feels like we could have been good with one or the other if it meant that, like, maybe we could have someone else. And, like, the one place that Transformed has it beat is the fact that the PC version has the Sega of Europe characters, which I love that they don't like represent that whole branch. I don't think Toe Jam and Earl are gonna make it to any crossover games though, because Sega does not own the characters or world or concept of Toe Jam and Earl. That's why there was a non-Sega Toe Jam and Earl game published. This sort of a pseudo remake of the first game a few years back. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. So unlikely that that's gonna happen, but I appreciate the appreciation. We're gonna listen to another Toe Jam and Earl track, as well as a request coming at us from D-Days. And if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, you can correct me in chat. And let's enjoy, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Hey, welcome back. That was a couple songs. What kind of songs were they? Well, one of them was Alien Breakdown from Toe Jam and Earl. Another one was Soarin' Over Space from Sonic Adventure 2, as requested by Pokeanime Matt. And yet a third one was Highway in the Sky Circuit Freak remix from Sonic X Shadow Generations. Days Gone Arc thing. We got another question coming at you. This one's from Silver Was Here. Silver Was Here asks, what is your favorite space level in the game, Sonic or otherwise? Am I allowed to just say my answer is Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2? Would that be cheating? That would probably be cheating. That would probably be cheating. No, I would say in terms of Sonic, I really like everything in, like, Colors is still probably my favorite 3D Sonic game. I really like some of the aesthetic choices that game makes. Starlight Carnival is Starlight Carnival is the most space. Between that and Asteroid Coaster, and both those real good. Both those real aesthetic good. Like them a whole lot. But otherwise for space stuff, like, I do like implementations of space in aesthetic choices, especially when it feels like it builds to that being a thing. Like, I don't always love ending every Sonic game as Supersonic. I really liked whenever they started moving away from that for, hey, things that the 2010s did that people don't seem to like, but GX likes a whole lot, is whenever they moved away from relying on Supersonic as the Deus Ex Machina for the end of the game. I liked fighting the giant Eggman robots as just running left and right, dodging things, and then hitting them. Admittedly, they got a little bit over-reliant on that, and kind of repeated the design a bit too often, but in concept, I liked it. Tetris Effect. I played some Tetris Effect music earlier. Really like some of the space motifs in there. This is probably pure nostalgia. Oh, I'm right there with you, Silver. The farther I get from the launch of Lost World, the better and better I feel about it as a game, as an aesthetic, as a series of design choices. Yeah. I'm gonna go with super nostalgia, though. And I'm gonna say DuckTales. Original NES DuckTales, and, you know, to a degree, the remastered version as well. I have a real soft spot in my heart for the original NES DuckTales game, and especially, God, the music from it. The music that they then re-implemented in the most recent DuckTales cartoon into, like, a lullaby from the moon. This is amazing. Oh, it's so good. That said, we've got some requests. One of them is coming up from Silver Was Here, as well as another one from Pocket Ellery. Sorry for going late tonight. You know, late start yields late ends, but we'll push forward. Here's some Sonic Frontiers. Hey, welcome back. That was I'm With You, the original Sonic Frontiers version, as requested by Sliver Was Here. Followed up by Go Go Astro Beat Jr. from Space Channel 5, wrapping it up with Starlight Carnival Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS, as requested by Pocket Ellery, also known as Starlight Carnival Missions, because, you know, DS game's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I tried it out a little bit. When I first played the DS game, I was going into it expecting it to be more Sonic Rush-like, and it certainly has Sonic Rush-like elements, but it's a little bit some of the things you do and do not do are a little bit closer to colors for consoles, and it really threw me off, so I kind of bounced off of it real early on and went back to it recently. I think it's worth me giving it another shot. So, hopefully you are ready to give another... No, wait. Is this correct? Am I correct here? Well, we're doing it now. We got a Spinbox from Clara. Clara, I'm sorry, your request will be... No, it'll be after the quiz. Oh, well, we'll do this and then we'll do the quiz. Clara the Cat asks, do you think Sonic Racing Crossroad will have console-exclusive characters like Banjo-Kazooie for Xbox and Sackboy for PlayStation? Yeah, I suspect not. I suspect we probably will not in this circumstance. I mean not to rain on anyone's parade in this case, but I also would say they probably put a lot of the efforts that they would have done that for into putting together... Yeah, it is a Sonic Stadium message board forum goer. Yeah. Claire the Cat is a regular requester, regular questioner. I bet they put a lot of that efforts into putting together some of the crossover and collaboration characters for the game. Things that, you know, would be able to hit all the platforms. Platform-specific stuff has kind of gone out of vogue, to be honest. Like, the last time I really can think of it is just over in the Wii U section. Like, you'll occasionally get stuff. I know Hitman on Switch 2 has some exclusive content on the Nintendo platform launch, but given the effort that's being put into some of these characters, it'd be surprising if they would be able to... Yeah, and the reason why you would do that is, like, to kind of get buy-in from that specific platform, and I think that's harder to do now. Like, who do you really put in on PlayStation to capture the attention of people there? Like, you could put in Astrobot, and I think there's a lot of people who would legitimate... Yeah, Tekken Tag 2 has a lot of really cool Nintendo exclusive stuff, but, like, does putting in Astrobot change the mind of anyone who might not have gotten this game otherwise? Who does Microsoft have as a character today that would convince people to do that? Like, they have franchises that people like, both of those. Nintendo's a little bit more straightforward. Nintendo usually likes to be like, okay, hey, do you want to set up a marketing deal to give us exclusive content? Like, Ubisoft got their Space Toys to Life game with Star Fox, and that was neat despite it not selling very well. Skylanders got their exclusive Nintendo figures. Like, Nintendo seems the most open to it, but they also don't do it all of the time. Oh, that's... You know what? Maxie, you bring up a good point. Microsoft does own Crash and Spyro now. I just think that, like, that effort has been put into, you know... We've got Hatsune Miku. Hatsune Miku will be on every platform. We've got the leaked characters, which will likely be on every platform. Those would all be good things to put in, like, a... in like future updates or things like that. And I think it keeps everyone on the same page. Plus, then you have the fact that that it's cross-platform multiplayer. So it raises the question of like, oh well, if we get obviously this is an exaggeration. If we got Mario, Nintendo wouldn't let us put Mario on the Xbox. Like, would you be able to use Mario online? I think that opens up a whole can of worms that they probably don't want to get into. And it was neat when it happened, when Banjo-Kazooie was there, when you could use Mii's in the original ones. I just suspect, like, doing that today is much, much harder than it used to be. I just hope for, like, a really cool diversity of guest characters in the games, like post-release content. So, real quick, Triple Trouble. 3 things in common. One of them doesn't belong. Which one of these does not belong? As always, you are welcome to guess in chat. If you don't want to guess in chat, you certainly don't have to. And we'll let you know the answer after here. Your topic is Advance. That's all I'm telling you. Of Advance, your choices of one of them being wrong is Terminal Velocity, True Area 53, Non-Aggression, and the Moon. Which one of these does not belong? Let me know as we listen to Egg Utopia Act 2. Be back in a bit. That was Egg Utopia Act 2 from Sonic Advance 2. Got some good answers in chat. Once again, the topic was Advance. Your choices are Terminal Velocity, True Area 53, Non-Aggression, and the Moon. We got some pretty quick replies to this one. It was indeed Terminal Velocity. True Area 53, Non-Aggression, and the Moon are the final boss stages of the Sonic Advance games, 1, 2, and 3. The Moon is in Sonic Advance 1, True Area 53 is in Sonic Advance 2, Non-Aggression is in Sonic Advance 3, Terminal Velocity is the final stage of Sonic Colors. Doesn't quite fit with the topic of Advance. So we got Maxi and Sliver in chat picking that up pretty quick. We're gonna keep at it. We're gonna keep going. We did not get Clara's request, but we got it now. As we've got one from Hasbomi as well. And these are our last 2 requests of the evening. Let's take a listen. We've got some Sonic Generations. That was Time Eater. That was Time Eater version 1 from Sonic Generations, as requested by Clara the Cat, followed up by Theme X from Xenoblade Chronicles X. Wrapping it up with Be Aggressive, one of the many fine remixes over at Overclocked Remix at ocremix.org. You can find that remix and many, many others, including a whole album of Gunstar Hero remixes over there. That was requested by Hasbomi over on the Blue Skies. Oh, Blue Skies, I gotta get some access to that Blue Skies back. I lost access for security stuff. Gotta go bug Dread. Have him give me access back so I can Blue Sky things. It's better than the other thing. We're gonna push right through. We've got... Oh, what do we got here? Yeah, we could still do this. These are some quick songs. We're gonna do this. We got one more trio of songs, then we've got our final wrap-up. And then I'm out of here for the weekend. So enjoy some retro tunes, including some seldom played retro tunes. Be back in a bit. No, I'm just kidding. This part 2 is sort of a continuation of part 1. We're not gonna we're not gonna keep going with that. We heard the loop already. We're good. That was Death Egg Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Who knows? Some of you might not have heard much of that song because it immediately swaps to the boss fight song once you walk like 10 feet. Then Milky Way from Sonic Drift 2, a very short loop, but a very fun one. Boy, Sonic Drift 2 has some great music. Wrapping it up with Space, Parts 1 and a little bit of Part 2 from Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter, the arcade, I guess technically arcade game, arcade amusement ride with a game component? Something like that. Hey, as we wrap up, just a reminder that my opinions are my own, but the show broadly is under the banner of Sonic Stadium over at sonicstadium.org. We are one of the internet's longest-running Sonic fan communities. We've got news, we've got game coverage, we've got plenty of I keep calling Team Sonic. No, it's Sonic Racing Crossworlds. We've got news coverage. We have impressions that just went up. We sent a guy over to Summer Games Fest to play it so he could take footage of Jet riding in a car because that annoys some people on the internet, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You should go check it out. Once again, that's sonicstadium.org. You could also, be super cool of a person and maybe give us a like or subscribe or, I don't know, just follow us in whatever way that you think is coolest. If you're watching on Twitch, we've got VODs over on YouTube. You just got to search Sega Sonic Radio. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're live on Twitch every Friday night. It's all good. It's all good. And what is especially good is our closer for tonight. It's a game who I talked about a little bit earlier, but boy, for any criticisms I might have of the game, the soundtrack burrowed itself into my heart immediately and will not let go. It's an amazing soundtrack. I love it so much. We're closing tonight on some Mario Kart World. I hope you enjoy. I know I will. I'll see you guys next week. Peace all, and welcome to the weekend.